Hi, this is Eddie Kramer, and you're on BackstageAxxess.com, where the real show begins.
BackstageAxxess.com here in NAMM 2014 at the F-Pedal booth with the one and only legendary producer, Eddie Kramer. Eddie, how you doing?
Better now.
Eddie is involved with a brand new pedal with Francisco Bendelli, and I want to ask him, how did you get hooked up with Francisco, and how did the F-Pedal all come about?
Well, Francesco Sondelli is a dear friend of mine from Italy, and he's a great musician. Decided to come up with something unusual, and that is an analog pedal that really sounded good. And we've been tweaking this thing and developing it for about 2 years now. Not only is it a great sounding pedal, the distortion, which is called an Ed distortion, God help me, but also a phase vibe, which is a phaser and a univibe all in one. Then we also have some incredible new technology, which is wireless power. These two have little magnetic inducers in the base of them, and when you put them close to the pedal board, which we'll show you, they light up, no wires. So we're happy about that.
How long did the process, when you guys met and you guys started talking about doing this and until today's finished project, how long did the whole process take?
I think from the very beginning to now, it's almost 2 years. Yeah.
So 2 years in the making, and how did you guys, I know you said you worked on, he's a former musician, whose idea was to come up with the pedals originally, start working on them?
Well, Francesco came up with the idea of a pedal, and then he came to me and said, look, I want it really special and I want your inputs. So I'm the guy that keeps going in the studio and tweaking and sort of doing all the sound tweaks, because we went through a lot of different tones to come up with these 3 special tones for the distortion pedal. And there's a germanium in there and an LED and some very other special circuitry, which some of it sounds vintage, some of it sounds very contemporary. It's very cool stuff.
And the different sounds, like for, obviously a lot of different players play a lot of different types of music. Tell us about how it can react through different, like say blues or hard rock or metal or whatever.
Well, we have a young guitar player with us today named Ray Gorin, and he plays blues and rock and all of that. But I think for virtually every guitar player, you're going to find a tone that you like. If you're heavy metal, you use the more compressed sound. If you're more vintage, there's a vintage position. So it's for everybody.
And that's what I was asking. Anybody can use these.
And the other thing is I use them in mixing. Okay. I use them on the console. I use this on vocals. I mean, they're very, very versatile. So
we're going to have a demonstrator, Ray Gorin. He's going to obviously show us this wonderful 13-year-old musician and give us a little taste of how these amps work. So we just saw a demonstration Ray gave, amazing. All the different sounds, all the different channels were, everything was touched upon, and I think everything sounded fantastic.
I love the way the pedals react. When the guitar players dig in, you hear all these beautiful sounds, and immediately they go, wow, that reminds me of Hendrix, or that reminds me of Zeppelin, or whatever. We nailed it.
So one last question I have to ask you, obviously being working with everybody from Zeppelin to Kiss, besides working with Jimmy, and that's obviously, you know, one of the biggest guitarists of all time, tell us a story about somebody that you worked with, you know, a great story that maybe somebody didn't know, or a pleasure that you had working with 30 years that maybe nobody, you know, a little tidbit that nobody knows.
Well,
maybe Jimmy Page or something.
Well, there's the famous story about how we got that wacky sound on Led Zeppelin 2. And you know the part of the song which goes, woman, you need, and in the background, there's this other little voice going, woman, it's a mistake. And it was track 8, I could never get rid of it. And Paigey and I looked at each other, we both grabbed the echo knob at the same time. We started laughing and said, yeah, that's it, it's a mistake, we don't care, leave the mistake in. There you go. That's a lesson for everybody. Leave the mistakes in.
Rock and roll. I mean, it's not perfect, but it comes out like that. So again, we're here at NAMM 2014 with the legendary Eddie Kramer. Eddie, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. BackstageAxxess.com.
BackstageAxxess.
All right. Take the time.